of December 1964, Long Eaton, Derbyshire. The front room of the terrace house faces onto the street. The curtains do not quite meet in the middle. The walls of the room are white embossed. On the wall is a brass-framed mirror. On the corner of the mirror a stuffed canary is perched. The ceiling is white embossed, carpet green with a yellow floral pattern. Grey nylon-covered chairs, black, yellow and green nylon fur cushions. On the wall, a pair of brass bellows on which is a side view of a galleon hangs from a hook in the shape of a front view of a galleon. On the mantelpiece is a hat-shaped clock, a bell-shaped musical box, a swan-shaped flower pot, and 2 empty candlesticks. On the brown carved sideboard, brown carved table, white painted window ledge and veneered cocktail cabinet are white vases filled with paper flowers. The woman who makes the paper flowers kneels on the black nylon rug in front of the convector fire. She is 50 years old, plump like a cushion. She is talking to a poodle. The woman dresses the poodle in a green woolen suit, boots and hat. The woman's husband, who is sitting in a chair by the fire, takes off his shoes and socks, and his wife takes a Polaroid photograph of the dog licking her husband's feet. Then for the next few years the diary goes on in one form or another, picking up isolated little incidents of everyday life, but gradually by the end of the 1960s definite themes begin to emerge. Not deliberate themes, but as my own life begins to change in certain ways, themes come out of it. For instance, around this time, middle 60s onwards, I started to do a lot of travelling on trains. Some of it to do with working part-time in art colleges and things, and a lot of it when train travel was really cheap, just for the sake of it. And so more and more incidents seen from train windows start to creep into the diary. I've always been interested in those little things that you can see from trains, just for a split second, and the train's gone past and you haven't got the time to work out why. 1st of February 1970. Because of engineering works, the Swansea to Bristol train is detoured along the Severn estuary. Midway along the estuary, the railway follows the bend of the river, and the river here is about 400 metres wide. In the centre of the river is a sand spit just showing above the water. The sand spit is about 250 metres long, isolated in the centre of the river, water on every side. A man is running down the centre of the sand spit. He has reached halfway when the train enters a tunnel. 19th of April 1970. Because of engineering works, the London to Plymouth train is diverted along the Thames and then via Swindon and Chippenham. Shortly before reaching Westbury, the train passes a hollow in a field, separated from the houses behind by a natural bank of earth. In the hollow, about 10 metres from the railway track, stands a man with his trousers and underpants round his ankles and his sweater rolled up under his armpits. He leans backwards, exposing himself. With one hand he massages his stomach, and with the other he waves vigorously at the train. 18th of May 1971. Plymouth to London train north of Castle Carey, 6:50 p.m. In a field surrounded on all four sides by a hedge is parked a Ford estate wagon. Standing with their backs to the car are 2 old men. They are casting fishing lines into the middle of the field. In the introduction to this selection here, it said the diaries record the side events of daily life. In other words, the main event is me reading this selection of diary extracts, but I'm also aware and interested in the feet moving underneath the tables and the way people fiddling with their hands and the bills doing something behind me that he's just moving slightly. It's those little things on the edge that interest me. So it records those and sometimes comments on them. And by turns they might be mundane, curious, bleak, erotic, tender, vicious, cunning, stupid, etc., etc. 27th of January 1973, Queen's Park Rangers football ground, Loftus Road, London West 12. A man in the football crowd pulls a whole fried chicken from inside his overcoat, pulls off the legs and wings and passes them across the face of the man alongside him to his friends on the other side, leaving him with the body, which he grasps in both hands and eats during the first 15 minutes of the match. The first goal comes unexpectedly in the 15th minute, and he throws his arms up. The chicken carcass flies into the air, half-chewed flesh and skin shoot out of his mouth. A lot of the elements of the diary are determined by the place where I actually live, which is in Smithfield Market in the actual city. And this is a place where activity goes on 24 hours round the clock for 5 days and then just dies a death at the weekend. And in the actual city, in this square mile, there are very few facilities, very few shops, and lots of the pubs don't stay open, things like this. And if you want a doctor, then you really are in a mess because there's only one. And he's my doctor, and I've got no choice. And there's no way that I would ever visit a doctor like this, except that he is the one I have to go to. So on the 9th of February 1973, I pay a visit to the doctors. The surgery is held in the local medical mission. A poster immediately inside the door says, "What think ye of Christ?" There is no receptionist, just a dimly lit hall with a circle of decrepit chairs, on a few of which sit old ladies chewing their lips. Down the far end of the hall is a pile of old furniture. A table in the centre of the hall, on which is a pile of religious pamphlets and magazines about missionaries. Around the walls are more fading posters. "Come unto me and thou shalt be cleansed. Behold, I come quickly. Jesus heals the paralytic." Something moves against my leg and a big black-faced cat appears, walks into the centre of the room and sits staring at each sick person in turn. From out of a side room, an old woman limps across the hall, breathing heavily as she carries on her back a large bundle of old clothes, which she dumps on the pile of furniture and then shuffles out through the back door. A nun puts her head round the door and then goes away again. Eventually, a woman in a grey uniform comes down the stairs and takes my medical card. The doctor's room is as run down as the rest of the building, sparsely furnished with second-hand furniture, presumably from the stock downstairs. In the middle of the floor is a roaring gas fire. The room is thick with heat. A single bookshelf on the wall contains a variety of Bibles and a copy of Gray's Anatomy. Underneath, his desk is covered with assorted rubbish, religious pamphlets and a stethoscope. Apart from 2 chairs, the only other furniture is a flat couch covered with a rubber sheet, above which is a framed inscription saying, "Wash me and I shall be white as snow." A half-open cupboard reveals a few bottles of pills, some sellotape, a box of Kleenex and a screwdriver. The room is lit by a 100-watt bulb in a yellow lampshade. The doctor, a thin, pasty-faced man of indeterminate age, is, as usual, nervous and ill at ease, especially when he has to refer to any part of the body other than the arms. Luckily, this time it is only my nose he has to deal with. Last time it was my groin. Even so, his hand shakes as he shines a light at my right nostril, and the viewfinder steams up and he backs away muttering, "New little gadget," and coughing. A rare event is when something, this diary looking at these side events, these little things which normally don't get noticed or at least don't get commented on. And then something happens, like a piece of international news happens right on my doorstep, and my attitude to it is quite different. Again, I tend to react to the side events. So, as I live very close to the Old Bailey, when the car bomb went off, it had a direct effect on me. Like bringing down all the windows in the flat and the pieces of the car landing outside, and me actually tape recording by chance at the moment it went up, so actually recording the explosion and also my reactions to it.
Well, they're finishing, Saturday night indoors, and really great. Yeah, unless I went down to Lyle, we went on from there. Bloody hell! Jesus Christ! Oh, fucking, didn't you hear it? An enormous explosion. The whole bloody flat shook. My God, I don't know what it was. I shall have to go out and see. Colossal. Yeah. People running out into the streets. Yeah, it was absolutely gigantic. Oh, I'm going out to see anyway. Right, bye.
But it was later on when I began to think about it and sort of put down any observations. So on the 8th of March 1973, the aftermath of the Old Bailey car bomb explosion, a city financier is hailing a taxi. He is immaculately dressed in a dark blue business suit, except that the left trouser leg finishes a few inches above his ankle. Blood oozes out of the lace holes of his polished black shoe. An old man with a bandaged head, his face the colour of earwax, is walking along the street. He sinks to the pavement without a sound. 2 hours after the explosion, office workers are still trying to make their way home from the city. A task made more difficult by the sudden rerouting of traffic, free access parking and a national rail strike. Long queues of people wait at all the bus stops, and as usual they all look normal, patient and self-contained. Except that looking closely you notice that the man in the grey overcoat is keeping his hands in his pockets to stop him shaking, but his lips give him away. Further down the queue, an office girl whose hair is permed and blonde at the front is a redhead at the back, her hair dyed with blood. Her friend stands beside her smoking a cigarette, the tiny pinpricks of blood on her stockings already congealed and dry. A few days later, 14th of March 1973, London. At the traffic lights is an open-top Mercedes sports car with the engine running. A fashionably dressed young man sits behind the driving wheel, and by his side sits his fashionably dressed girlfriend. The traffic lights stay on red, and the young man lights a king-size cigarette with one hand, smiles at the girl, and switches on the windscreen washers with the flick of a switch. 2 jets of water arc into the air, over the top of the windscreen. One lands on his cigarette, and the other in his girlfriend's lap. The next day, 15th of March 1973, Bermondsey Street behind London Bridge Station. A clear sunny afternoon. Men are unloading packing cases by means of a crane from the second floor of a warehouse. A young man with shoulder-length styled hair, flared trousers and built-up shoes walks out of the alley alongside the warehouse, carrying in his hands a live pigeon. He holds up the pigeon to show his mates in the loading bay and says, "I'm going to fuck it." 24th of April 73, the Two Chairmen pub off Trafalgar Square, London. As I walk out from the inside lavatory, a massive Alsatian dog leaps out from the group of people around the bar, its teeth bared and snarling as it goes for my arm. I spin round to protect myself, and it rips its teeth into my clothing before someone grabs it by the collar. It is the landlord's dog. The landlord says, "You're lucky it didn't break your arm. It can break bones with a single snap, and that's the truth. You see, it's trained to attack." A boy with a speech defect says, "That's right, it's trained to attack. Dog isn't, you know." The barmaid, her face set and mean, says, "You should be ashamed of yourself, tormenting a poor dog, saying, 'Come on, come on, I saw you with my own eyes. It's people like you who make me sick.'" I don't like dogs. And on the 27th of June 1973, I went to a dog show. Not with my own will. It was in Excerpt in South Devon. The annual dog show is being held in the church hall. The hall is filled with dogs and their owners, either parading up and down the floor or sitting waiting their turn. On the stage at one end of the hall is a table covered with a Union Jack flag and assorted silver cups. In front of the stage, a bulldog, unable to walk, sits on its rump, slobbering and panting. At the other end of the hall are ladies serving homemade cakes and teas. Occasionally a dog pisses or shits on the floor, and a lady wearing a pince nez shuffles out with a shovel and a bucket. There is an atmosphere of jealousy and rivalry. Glances are cast over shoulders. Eyes flick up and down other competitors and their animals. A whippet trots around the judging arena, led by its owner, a big fat man in a lightweight summer suit who jogs alongside in his polished boots. The fancy dress has only one entrant, a border collie dressed in tennis sweater and shorts and gripping a tennis racket between its teeth. The dog is led by its owner, an unsmiling youth with a nervous tick. As he collects his inevitable prize, the other dog owners applaud, and all the dogs bark in unison. Smithfield Market in the summer is a trying place to live. I wrote a kind of little descriptive thing after about 8 days of heat wave of Smithfield Market from outside of my window. 16th of August 1973, Smithfield Market. In the meat market, the temperature is 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Women faint in the streets. Dogs piss on walls and children who are lying on the pavements. The container lorries parked on the streets have their refrigeration compressors on full, causing the surrounding walls to vibrate. People have no energy to shout above the continuous shuddering noise. They gesture feebly to each other. The drivers are slumped in the cabs of their lorries, soaked in sweat, their heads hanging out of the windows. From the doors and windows of the surrounding shops and warehouses, from vents in the pavements, from loading bays, from barrows, wagons, lorries, vans and trucks, comes the stink of meat going bad. Large metal bins stand on the pavement, filled to the brim with bones and offal. Chickens' feet are scattered in the road. A heap of cows' heads stands on the pavement, their eyes staring in all directions, flies crawling over their noses and into their ears. The drains are blocked by polythene bags filled with blood and intestines. The white smoke from bacon factory chimneys gradually settles over the area during the afternoon and early evening. First of September 73, Ireland. There are flies everywhere. On the walls, ceilings, floors, window panes, doors, doorsteps, pavements, roads, lampposts, dogs and children. On the pink cheeks of babies in prams. On the white collars of priests in railway station buffets. On the seats of trains. On the spectacles of nuns peering through the train windows. On the ticket inspector's peaked cap. On the cream cakes in the seaside cafe, on the blackberries in the hedges, on the sand, on the seaweed. The flies crawl in their hundreds on the rocks towering above the beach, as she stands with her legs pushed apart in the sand, naked from the waist down, her hands against the cliff face as he grips her waist and thrusts in and out of her from behind. Even as she grinds and twists her hips, the flies settle on the base of her spine, crawl up the inside of her thighs, and settle for a split second on his prick each time it slides back out of her. September 73, London. The woman in the blue trouser suit walks around the thickly carpeted Bond Street Art Gallery, inspecting the prints on the walls. She ignores the small, long-haired dachshund which grips the bottom of her right trouser leg with its teeth. She drags the dog along the carpet as she moves from print to print. 28th of September 73, Stibbard, Norfolk. He is walking down the narrow country lane. To the left of him is a continuous hedge, about 2 meters tall. He becomes aware that someone is walking in step with him on the other side of the hedge. Every few meters, the sound of this unseen person's footsteps pause, land heavily, and then quickly catch up with his own. He realizes that the other person is periodically jumping up and down, attempting unsuccessfully to see over the top of the hedge. This continues until he reaches the main road. 13th of October 1973. Leeds. Her hair covers his belly. Her breath is warm on the insides of his thighs as she moves her tongue around his groin. His hips press into her back on either side of her spine. Up through the floorboards comes the voice of the woman in the basement. You bloody bogger. Fucking shithouse. Don't you dare come down to my door again, you bloody sod, you bloody shithouse. You should have died in childbirth, it would have saved us all a lot of trouble. Bloody money and you get fucked in the eye. Fucked in the eye you get, you bloody bogger. Your dirty bloody room for your dirty bloody game. Yes, your dirty bloody knives and your dirty bloody forks. Yes, open the window to let out the smell. And neighbours saying, have you heard anything? Have you seen anything? Bloody prostitute, bloody filthy sod. Your bloody Muriel and your bloody Agnes and your bloody Arthur and all the rest of the boggers. Yes, your bloody Agnes and your bloody Arthur. Yes, your bloody mother, while you go and get a couple of hours in, standing on the corner like a common slut, you bloody swine. Your bloody mother. Don't you bring your shit down here again, you bloody swine. Your bloody mother. I'll say it is, and your bloody neighbours day and night reporting, saying, have you heard anything? Have you seen anything? I'll say I fucking have. Yes, I heard you last night and the night before, you fucking shithouse. In there in the arsehole like fucking animals. And for a bit of money, a bit of dirty money, you fucking rotten shithouse, stinking, filthy slime pig. Half fucking less. Well, I think you should know about the bloody worker and the bloody neighbour. And they do this and they do that. Oh yes, there's not much they don't do. Bloody sods, the bloody boggers. Did you get your money's worth? Yes, my word. Fucked in the bloody arsehole. Yes, they do that dance. And tea and bloody chat all day long with nothing else to do. Your own fucking daughter, fucked in the eye for a bit of custom, should have died in childbirth, your bloody doctor. 18th of December 73, London, Oxford Street. The shop windows are packed with food, clothes, furniture, liquor, chocolates and toys. Shoppers throng the streets, shuffling along laden with Christmas gifts. The elegantly dressed young man stands with his wife and child at the head of the bus queue. The man behind nudges him as he tries to get past in order to get on the bus. The young man turns round, clutching his Christmas tree in his arms, and shouts through the branches, "Don't you push me or I'll pull your bloody face off." 17th of March 74, 1925 Leeds to London train. The woman in the corner seat wears a green velvet coat trimmed with an imitation fur and knee-length maroon suede boots. She falls asleep, sinking into the corner of the seat. Her red velvet skirt slides up around her thighs. Her mouth falls open and is reflected in the window, superimposed on the night landscape outside. The train runs parallel with the motorway. Cars and lorries rush into her mouth, their headlights on full. She wakes up, coughing. 15th of April 74, London, St John Street, EC1. An old woman dressed in filthy clothes, tied up with string, her arms and legs covered with sores and wrapped in polythene bags. She is polishing the outside walls of Barclays Bank with a Kleenex tissue. 20th of August 74, Lord's Cricket Ground. We spend a lot of time watching cricket in the summer. The third day of the match between Middlesex and Surrey, is proceeding slowly. A small number of spectators are dotted around the stands, some dozing in the warm sunshine. Unexpectedly, the batsman hits an effortless six. A flick of the wrist sends the ball sailing over the leg side boundary. A spectator, high up in the stand, gets to his feet and waits, smiling, as the ball drops towards him. The ball lands on his fingertips, and there is a sharp cracking sound. The fingers of his right hand are broken back like sticks. A smile freezes on his face. He stares dumbly at his hand and is eventually led away by the nearest other spectator. 11th of January 1975. Norwich, 10:05 a.m. Just about to catch the train, and on the top of a distant building I see what looks like a heron turning and swaying from side to side. And as I walk to catch the train, I remember a Saturday afternoon last autumn. The crowd were pouring out of Queen's Park Rangers football ground after the match, swarming along the pavements, head down. On the top of a nearby block of flat stood a big sea eagle looking down on the street. Through the windows of the flat immediately underneath the eagle, the family were watching television, except for Mother, who was standing at the window watching the crowds below, her round, placid face a few inches below the talons of the huge bird. 25th of March 1975, London, Farringdon Road, EC1. A man with one leg considerably shorter than the other, lurching along whistling "I Could Have Danced All Night." 5th of April 1975, London, National Film Theatre Bar. An elegantly dressed man and an elegantly dressed woman are sitting opposite each other. She is dressed in a two-piece suit, the skirt just above her knees, with black calf-length boots. He is dressed in casual wear, grey sweater and slacks with knife-edge creases. His hair is parted on the right side of his head. He is telling her who, in his opinion, are the most important French film directors, pausing only to adjust the creases in his trousers. She listens, the little finger of her right hand cocked as she holds a coffee cup poised above its saucer. As he speaks, he breaks the seal on the carton of cream for his coffee, inadvertently squeezes the carton and squirts a little jet of cream up her skirt between her thighs.